like to call this meeting of the Clay County Commission of Roads. You start again. With that, Mr. Administrator, if you would mind leading us in the invocation.
Yes, please rise as you're able as we go to prayer. God of all creation, we bow today to give you honor and praise. Let us always be mindful of you and remember that all that we have and all that we are is because of you. We take comfort in the words of Scripture, in particular Revelation chapter 21, verse 6. And he said unto me, it is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. We ask for your almighty presence in this meeting today as we do the people's work, and all God's people said amen.
Please remain standing for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Madam Clerk, if you would mind calling the roll.
Commissioner Nolte?
Here.
Commissioner Olin? Commissioner Ridgeway?
Here.
That moves us on to approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or other alterations that anyone has for the agenda? If not,
There's,
Yes.
yes, there's one,
331 is listed as the first one on the regular agenda. Well, they're putting it up.
oh, there it is, I'm sorry.
Yes, I believe that is what the subject is on that.
Well, I'm not seeing the article I was concerned about, so. I guess we're good.
Okay. If there are no changes or alterations, is there a motion to adopt our agenda, to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Motion has been made. Discussion, seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Ridgeway?
Yes.
Commissioner Olin?
Yes.
Commissioner Nolte?
Yes. That brings us to number 6, meeting schedule, Mr. Administrator.
Yes, Commissioners, next work session will be held Monday, November 21st, 2016, 10 a.m. Next business session, Monday, November 28th, 2016, 10 a.m.
And would you mind reminding everybody of the days, because of the Thanksgiving holiday, that we will not be open? We can do that a couple of times just to make sure. I think it's pretty obvious, but it's fair to make mention.
Yes, Commissioners, the county will be having a meeting next Monday, November 21st, which is Thanksgiving week. The county will be closed for the Thanksgiving holiday, Thursday, November 24th, and Friday, November 25th.
Thank you. Courtesy resolutions, there are none listed. Comments from the audience on non-agenda items. Are there any comments from members of the general public on a non-agenda item? Okay, seeing none. Are there any office holders who would like to comment on any non-agenda items?
Good morning, Commissioners. Yes. Lydia McAvoy, Collector. I really want to begin today by offering an apology, first of all, to county staff that I have apparently really upset, and I am very sorry for that, and I will explain further in a moment, but I wanted to start with that because that was never my intention. And then it looks like we're going to need some commission direction on a decision that I made in my office, simply because there's a differing opinion on what should be done next. So I've been working with county staff on a while now for an audit, and I think it came pretty clear last week that we were crossing wires. There was some confusion because I thought I was working with county staff on a county audit, and they thought they were helping me with an audit in my office. So we were talking to each other, but apparently we were not on the same page. One part of that audit that was of concern to me was physical access to my office, and I had to sign off on a certification that I had reviewed policies and procedures, and it came to my attention that I'm not in possession of the policies and procedures or control of the policies and procedures for access to my office. They're controlled by people that are not covered by my bond, and that was a concern to me. I didn't press it further because I thought we were working on a different subject matter audit. So that was my misunderstanding, and I think that led to a lot of the confusion. But I just decided, I thought it was my responsibility. I actually still believe that, but that if I wanted something different done in my office, that I needed to take care of that myself. And so I pursued a county vendor that we've used before, got some quotes, came up with an excellent product that I really like, and started work on changing control of the badge access to internal control in the collector's office. My only intention in that was just to make it so that the applications for access were made to me, but not to shut anyone out, to let anybody that wanted it to be able to have it. Well, the situation blew up before I had a chance to express that, so I'm here to just express that again, because that was my intention. I did not mean to shut anybody out. But anyway, the current status is that my office is secure and the product is working great and I love it. But the project is only partially done because county council, in the interest of trying to keep the peace, intervened on the last business day of last week and went ahead and asked the vendor to hold off until we could get commission direction of what to do next. Like I said, I really think it is something that is not only within my authority but my responsibility, but the point is that there's a disagreement and I don't want to cause trouble. That was not my point. I know Brad specifically was very upset, and I really feel bad about that, and and Nicole, they've done a good job helping my office, supporting my office, and I did not intend to make them feel like I was shutting them out intentionally. So first order of business, I'm here to extend an olive branch and apologize. Second order of business, I'm here to express to the commission my commitment to grant all access that is necessary for safety and maintenance to the collector's office, to other departments that would need that. I just want to be part of the conversation. And then number 3, we need direction going forward because the project is only halfway done. So right now there is a door to my office that no one can get into from the outside. It is adequate fire access, so it is the ultimate secure door right now. So my office is safe. No one can get in that door. But, you know, it's ugly because the badge access was taken out and nothing's been done. So we like to finish. The other door, the system is working great. The fobs are cheap. The process of giving access takes just a few seconds. And I would be more than happy to have a meeting with anybody, you know, specifically Nicole, because she's over those departments, and any of the department heads. You know, they mentioned some things to me that I really hadn't thought about. And so that's my fault for not, you know, seeking that beforehand. But I can grant that access easily. It's not a problem. We just need to have a meeting. And commission direction of what to do next, because I'd like to finish the project if at all possible.
Well, thank you very much for coming forward, and certainly appreciate the, you know, you're extending yourself. It's, you know, it's not always the best thing to stand up in front of a group and say that things could have gone better. But I do appreciate that, and after all, we all, you know, need to be looking, I think, in a more consensus-building type of process. And I'm very happy that you're extending that and willing to work under those kinds of circumstances. The only way we really can get things done constructively is by trying to build consensus and not beat each other up.
I have a question.
Go ahead, please.
Can the county counselor give me an overview of what happened? I'm hearing details, but I'm not grasping the precise nature of what happened.
My understanding, we're actually in a different county meeting. I worked on.
Could you speak in your microphone, please? No problem.
Live, we were in a different kind of meeting, we got notice. Basically, the simple version is that the keypad access was being changed in the collector's office, literally as we were meeting last week on this other issue. And that raises a number of questions. Commission control of buildings, fire and safety access, if something were to happen, things of that nature. Based on that, and there's even some contract issues because of how the purchase occurred. Based on all that, I contacted the vendor, McGuire, I think it is, and said, hey, can we hit the pause button here? Have you guys finish up what they're doing, get home, and then call them off so we can figure out what's the best approach for ongoing access. Because we have to be mindful that the collector's office needs as much security as they can get. They handle a lot of money, but we also have to be mindful that generally speaking, the commission controls county property. So I asked them, hey, just hit the pause button. Lydia and I talked over the weekend, had a really good conversation about that as well. So that's kind of the short version of how we got here.
So, okay. So the collector changed the mechanism of badge access.
Yes.
And the procedures weren't followed.
That's part of the discussion that needs to, or not, part of the investigation that needs to happen, or the review.
So this is the type of badge access that I was given whenever I was elected, and I think this is the badge access that everybody has. Isn't it? Same
That's
thing?
what I have something similar. I don't know.
I should probably ask our
That's facilities question, probably.
Facilities. He's coming out here.
Greg Garrett, Assistant County Administrator for Facilities. Yes, that is the same badge access that everybody has.
Okay, so if the collector goes forward with the other vendor, she would have a different vendor and it wouldn't be this type of badge.
Correct.
Okay, tell me more about what that means to a layman.
To start with, over the weekend, we had no access to the collector's office. Should there be a plumbing leak, electrical issue, God forbid, fire, anything like that, we had no way of accessing the office. That's the first problem right there. Now, she has said that it was the intention all along to give us a badge ultimately.
But it would be different than the sheriff or the assessor or the commission.
Yes, it would be the only one within the county that is different.
Why would we need to do that? What's wrong with these? These are expensive. What's wrong with these?
No, and I understand that. As you know, I'm one of the only 2 office holders in the county that's governed by a very high bond. And this audit brought up the issue of who is controlling physical access. Right now, the procedure for granting access to people that are outside the collector's office, that need access to the collector's office, does not include a role for the collector. And to be perfectly honest, the people that have access, there's no problem with that. It's just that they have access without me knowing it or without me having anything to do with that. And so we have had the situation of just, oh, hi, who are you, walking into our office, and then they introduce themselves and that's fine. But the point is, I can't answer to an audit request or to a bonding company that I 100% control that situation or know what's going on unless I do.
But the people who come in there are facilities people who have to do general maintenance work, and they can only get in if they have one of these and can be granted access through one of these, right?
Right. But it's people that are not under the umbrella or the protection of my bond that are making those decisions. And so that's really implicating county liability, in my opinion. If they're giving access to someone to my office that I don't have any control over it, that's taking it outside the umbrella of my bond and implicating the county's insurance.
But you have to, of common sense necessity, have other people to have access to your office in the event of fire, repairs, water break. You have to
Right, so they just make that application to me instead of making that application to someone who's not covered by my bond, and I manage that risk. So then if there's an incident in my office, I know that everyone that had physical access to my office, I granted it, and therefore it would be covered by my bond rather than covered by county insurance or covered by NOSU because someone that I did not have any knowledge of or control over that had access. So it's just me managing it. It doesn't change necessarily the personnel. That's a very good point. The same people can have access. So they just need to do it through me.
Let me ask Mr. Garrett. I'm not getting this. We've got an expensive system here that works. So if we only have access, particularly on the weekends or in the event of an emergency, whatever the nature of that emergency might be, we have to go through the collector. You're available 24/7. A lot of other people are available 24/7. I see problems with this. I don't know if you have anything else you need to say about that.
Yeah, one of the points that was brought up last Friday or last Thursday when we talked about this was getting reports of who has entered her office. She said she hasn't been able to get an accurate report, but I have never received a request for that report. If you need to show that information to your bond or to justify your bond or whatever you need, ask.
Just a moment, I have a question, because I'm a little confused on something. So we're putting a process in place where the office holder does not, who is bonded, does not have a say in the security of her office where cash is kept? I mean, is that where we're heading with this thing, or am I misunderstanding?
No. If there is someone that she does not want to have access to that office,
Does she know in advance who is applying for access to her office?
at this point, no, that's not part of the scene. Never
I mean, it
has.
seems reasonable. I mean, if it were, another office, I would still have the same point, but given the fact that we have records and then we have, I don't want to hit that button too much, but there's a reason that she is bonded, obviously, because there's an issue there. It feels a little bit like when you put somebody on for her to have access to her office, there's a little bit of a thought process that seems to come through to me that says, better to ask forgiveness than permission. The other thing is, I think if we are expecting each office holder to be able to conduct their offices in a secure manner, and we don't give them better access to who does have the ability to come in and out of their offices, we are sort of setting them up to fail. So if a problem does happen, all of a sudden we've got a very blurry line of responsibility here.
Jerry, if I could, I have Brad is right, I had not consulted him. Back when I was working on my audit, which I got the original request back in February and March, so this was months ago that I was working on my part of the audit. I was working with Dennis Hyder, who was here before Brad, and I did have issues. I didn't feel like they were issues of anybody trying to be difficult or anything, which is actually even more of a concern, because he was trying his hardest and we just could not get accurate information. And that is, he is perfectly correct that he's been here for 4 months. I had not re-pursued the issue with him because I had already sort of headed down, thinking that this was going to happen once all the pieces were in place. So I don't want to personally accuse Brad of not giving me information because I had not re-pursued the issue with him. I was just under the impression that the software that the county had was having difficulty because in the requests that I made, I was not, with people that were trying, seemed very hard to be very helpful, I was not getting accurate information. So it is not on Mr. Garrett.
No, I didn't mean to assign blame. I'm just confused that if we're talking about granting access to anything, I mean, the sheriff is back there. I would not think that we would have any intentions whatsoever of allowing access to the areas under his control without him prior signing off. And that goes for any other office holder. I think that it sounds like the role that they have in pre-authorizing persons to have access to their office space is a little lean if you use a little bit of work. I mean, I would be disturbed if I walked in my office and I found someone in there and said, "Oh, I have access to this office." I would be upset about that. I can see where some of the other office holders might, unless and I understand that that there are people who are going to have access to my office in terms of emergencies, in terms of possibly, janitorial services and that sort of thing. What's kind of concerning me is to make sure that our office holders are basically given the due respect that I think they're entitled to have some little higher measure of control over the security of their offices, because at the end of the day, they're the ones who are maybe not exactly responsible in a legal sense, but certainly it's their offices. They're the ones who are elected to those positions, and it's part of their responsibility, and I believe they all take it seriously.
Commissioner Mann.
Absolutely, please go ahead.
Except for one thing. I mean, you made it very clear that you specifically want to have the exercise of control that state statute gives to the county commission over everything having to do with a county building or county structure.
No, that's not accurate.
I'm
That's
not
not accurate. But go ahead. Yeah.
Let me finish the thought. Since you have made that very clear, then it seems to me that we're opening the door to having every office holder having a different security system for their particular office, which is absolute chaos for our facility staff and our emergency management staff to try to figure out, okay, well, this one's this key code and this one's that key code. The other thing that I'm concerned about is, it says,
Well,
there's a notice.
Can I go ahead and get that point first, because I don't want to get my train of thought lost. I want to address it. All I'm saying is that the office holder should be in the loop at the beginning when you're granting access. I think that, well, I'm not saying they should, I'm saying it seems like a reasonable thing to discuss and a reasonable thing to allow. I'm not saying that what was done with the office on replacing those pads was, I made no real comment on that, except that it was acknowledged that it was a mistake, and when people make mistakes, we correct them and then we move on. So, no, I do not change my position that we do have control over the physical facility of the building itself. And it sounds like the process worked in that when something was being done, the mistake was halted, and we are now going back and going to follow our procedure. So that's, no, I'm not advocating or changing my position that we have control of the physical facility as a commission. So I'm not sure exactly what you were hearing, but please, I did want to address that. Go to your next.
It also says that there's a notice on the collector's door that says, please call 816-407-3200 during regular business hours to request access. Who has the authority at 3200 to give access? Just you?
It would always come through me as the office holder, but maybe my staff can answer the call. But yes,
You have specifically delegated to other people the authority to give access to your office?
they can answer the call.
They can answer the call.
Yes.
The old one has to go back to you.
Absolutely.
Okay, if an after-hours emergency arises and access is needed, please call 816-560-5113. Whose phone number is that?
My personal cell. I just put that up over the weekend because I'm not anticipating that being an issue going forward, because I would like to meet with Mr. Garrett and whoever else needs the after-hours access and make sure that that's set up and arranged. That was just over the weekend because McGuire had to leave in the middle and they only left us 10 files. We ordered 100 because we meant to give out access to whoever needed it, but we were only left with 10.
It sounds like what the problem really boils down to is the county had an established procedure through these key fob accesses. You deviated from that without having a discussion, and if I gather correctly, that's what you're apologizing for, is that you didn't have a
No,
discussion.
and I want to clarify that. I don't, with all due respect, I don't say that what I did was a mistake. What I realized was, I mean, Mr. Garrett looked right at me, and he's done a great job supporting my office, and he seemed genuinely upset that I had tried to cut him out or to go around him. And I did not intend to do that. That was not my point. That's what I'm apologizing for, is that I didn't check with people and that I've created this impression. I don't think what I did in my office was a mistake. I contend that I have the authority and the responsibility to secure my office. And I don't actually agree that there's a stated procedure that I'm part of that has anything to do with badge access to my office. I'm not part of that procedure at all. And that's the whole issue. It has nothing to do with who has been granted access. The people who've been granted access are wonderful. People from IT and people from facilities, they do a great job, and we appreciate them coming to help us. The problem really lies with how that access is granted and the fact that I have no role in it. And therefore, I can't certify to anyone that would ask that I'm 100% sure who has access on a day in, day out basis to my office. I just feel like that's an untenable position for someone who has a $750,000 lien on their house.
Let Mr. Garrett speak to that, because ultimately it's in his lap to make sure that the facilities are taken care of and that we have a secure county-wide system. So where do we go from here?
Well, as far as signing new people up or granting access to the rooms, I don't have a problem with letting you know that this person needs access, and if you have a legitimate concern with that, taking that into account, that's not a problem. As far as the reports go, though,
I'm sorry, and I really appreciate it, but the legitimacy of the concern should not be my burden of proof. That, I mean, I'm sorry, but that sounds, and I appreciate his cooperative attitude, he's working from his department, but if I have a legitimate, if my concern is deemed legitimate by him, it will be taken under advisement. It doesn't seem like the burden of proof that we should be applying.
Okay, it looks like to me that this was a colossal failure to communicate. And so right at the moment, I'm communicating.
I got it, yes.
Talk to our staff and figure this out, because I see a huge problem, a huge security problem, if we have 8 different office holders, all with 8 different security systems. That seems crazy. So, open up discussion, get with our county counselor, figure out what we gotta do to satisfy your bond. But I am absolutely not for having every single office holder having a separate security system. That to me just sounds like a disaster waiting to happen in an emergency. So sort it out, but I think Commissioner Nolte said something about it's better to seek forgiveness than permission. I would flip that around and say it's better to seek permission and discussion.
Actually, I just, once again, what I said was, I was concerned that this sounded like we were seeking forgiveness rather than permission. So,
Good, then we agree.
yes, when you state my position correctly, we do. Commissioner Owen, I believe you had a question.
Well, I could ask Brad. It seems like to me that, from what I'm familiar with our security system, it seems like whenever somebody with their badge strikes, goes through a door, it records that information, doesn't it?
Yes.
So, so don't we have a list of, if somebody goes in at night or something, don't we know who that was?
absolutely, yes, that's the report I'm talking about. If she wants to see who has entered her office, I can have that report created. And
I think that now she's got, I think our system has been pretty good all along. If she needs to approve everybody that goes in there, I think that's a simple task.
I think that we've kind of beat this a little bit, but like I say, my thought process is I would want to know if somebody had, outside of the office, but if somebody had access, if say, staff had access to my office, I would want to know about it before I walked in and said, oh, hi, how are you guys doing? So that sounds like one of the issues that needs to be worked through. Are there any other thoughts or comments on this before we leave this particular subject?
So commission direction would be to.
Go ahead and use the mic, please.
Commission direction would be to, if we disagree, have county council get involved, is that?
Yes.
Yeah, I think what we'd like to do, and then if there's still disagreement, I think at some point it comes to our table, but I think at this point it sounds like it should be able to be handled at that level, and if not, clearly we're kind of the sort of the appellate court, so to speak, with a last shot at getting something resolved. Thank you very much. You'd like to say something?
I actually do have some done with that. I wanted the commission to consider going back to courtesy resolutions. We actually do have courtesy resolutions, my understanding, and attaching maybe people here for.
Okay. We will suspend office holder comments in case there's another office holder who would. I tell you what. Let's go ahead and finish. Let's finish the. I think you're right. They do have other things to do besides listen to us pontificate. Let's go ahead and go through the comments from the audience, and then we'll pick back up and we'll go for courtesy resolutions.
Okay.
I think that might be our best bet. Is there another office holder who has a comment?
Kathy Reinhardt, the county assessor. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody that supported me during this campaign. I really appreciate being reelected. I talked to Kevin earlier, and it is his opinion, don't let me put words in your mouth, Kevin, that now I can talk to the IT department about opening up the software that the IT department wrote on my behalf for online assessments. And I'll be contacting them, so hopefully AMS Governor Harris, PACS company can go in and attach to that and not have to rewrite an entire program. And thirdly, I do believe, I don't know, where does that little DeGroot, is that Leslie, where does she sit? Well, where's her office? I need to speak to them. Purchasing? Is there a secret handshake or something to get in there?
Why don't you just talk to the county administrator and sort it out?
Well, this is kind of a situation that we have. I'm not sure if you're aware of it or not. In '97, when I became the assessor, I walked in the door, my predecessor had not ordered assessment list. And we had 4 months to get assessment lists put together. We had a very aggressive IT developer who was in charge of the IT department, and we had a very aggressive county administrator. And in 3.5 months, we got the assessment list put together. We had to print them in-house and send them out. Last Thursday, I was advised that I have less than 4 weeks to find a new printer and get that all taken care of. But I think the little gal, is her name Leslie DeGroot? Is that how you pronounce her last name? Okay.
My question goes back to, okay, we've got this here before us today. Have you talked to the county administrator about it? Because it sounds like you've got an immediate problem, things a faster answer than just week to week to week commission meetings. Have you talked to the county administrator about solving the problem?
I talked to Leslie. I emailed Leslie. I think she's got it under control. But what I wanted to tell you is that in June, the contract elapsed. And I found out about it on Thursday. So I don't know if the office holders at this point are supposed to take on all their own purchasing. We're not going to use the purchasing department. Because if that's the case, then I just need to know. And that's why I'm standing here. I do believe that we're going to get some resolution on Wednesday, and on Monday, I'm going to be standing back up here. It's going to be on immediate action to use the printer that I've used for the last umpty years, which is fine. That works. But I just need some direction here. That's all I'm asking for.
Because, yeah, I know a little bit about this, but enough to probably maybe ask a question. So that this is a long-term contract that we've had with a vendor to print this up, and it expired June.
It expired in June, yes.
And we had that contract for, I mean, how long, you've been here for a little while. Have they been here for,
Yeah, we've used these people for quite some
I
time.
was going to say they're long-term vendors.
They're a long-term vendor, yes.
Mr. Minister, why are we lapsed in our contract?
On the call, Mark Forward.
Assistant County Administrator Lori Portwood for Finance and Administrative Services. This has been resolved, to my knowledge. The issue was with staff in the purchasing department regarding the lapse of contract. There are no changes as far as the purchasing department handling the purchasing items for the county. I've talked to county counselor, and we have arranged so that it will be on for immediate action.
What was the, and just to be clear, this particular vendor is doing what, I think I know, but if you just kind
They're
of,
printing 125,000 assessment lists that have to be dropped in the mail December 31st.
statutorily.
Well, yeah, sort of, I'm pretty sure. Because if you wait later, then people that have bought a car after January the 1st go ahead and put it on their assessment list, and they don't owe taxes.
So this is,
It gets very confusing for the public, so we try to make it as simple as possible.
so June, July, August, September, October,
November,
and we're just heading into November. I haven't any idea when it was, so it's about 5 to 6 months.
correct?
It's a pretty major function in your office.
Yes.
It's a pretty important, I mean, this is a pretty important contract. Just it kind of seems to have slipped through the cracks a bit.
Well, Commissioner, if the assessor has an issue, I have
Let's keep it away from the personal remarks, if you please.
So it's all right for her to attack staff, but nothing in return.
Here's the thing, this is the second major contract that has, I'll be right with you, excuse me. This is the second major contract in as many weeks that it is discovered was quite late and puts us in a position to where we have to act, quickly.
Well, and as has been stated to you on numerous occasions, it's a personnel problem in the purchasing department that's being dealt with.
For 5 months. I mean,
I'm not discussing personnel.
No. I'm not talking about the personnel. I'm talking about how long it takes to resolve these. I mean, we've got a contract. This is not. We're not talking about a contract here for paper clips. This is something that is once again a rather important function, basic function of this government, and we do not seem to be able to keep track of our contracts, especially the major ones, and come back and be able to renew these. Now we find ourselves in a position to where. I hope that we're able to get these documents done in a timely manner, but why? It doesn't seem very practical that we seem to be blowing all these deadlines. We have more contracts out here. We're going to be doing these once a week for the rest of the
She brought
year.
us something I didn't know anything about.
But you're supposed to know about our contracts. I mean, you're the administrator.
Well, if I was supposed to know about everything, we would have one employee for the county, that'd be me.
That's why you have a staff, but you are, of course, responsible for your staff. I mean, I suggested last springtime.
Is this the administrator's personnel review, or what is this?
No, this is where we say, this is a basic function of your job to make sure that we have contracts that are being renewed on a timely basis. Last week, not only did we have one major one, but we had a handful of other minor contracts that had expired. I can see a few of these, but we've got a pattern forming here that I have a concern about.
There is no pattern forming, as I've said for probably the 50th time now. It's a personnel issue, personnel in the purchasing department. It's being dealt with.
This is a contract issue. I mean,
Commissioner, if I could,
yeah.
this is not a productive conversation. It is not helpful to Lake County. It is not helpful to staff. It isn't helpful to anybody. If you have a problem with the county administrator, go to the county administrator and sort it out. But for us to be bringing up employment issues, the county administrator's repeatedly said.
What employment issue am I bringing up? That's his explanation for why this is not happening. But
And you should ask him in private, because it's an employment issue, and we're not supposed to be discussing employment issues with specific employees in the public forum. You know that can lead to legal liability. Furthermore.
you mean if we have a contract that expires, I'm not allowed to ask about why it's expired?
You can certainly ask about why it's expired, and his explanation to you is there was a person who was responsible for notifying their managers that contracts were coming up. The person failed to do it. They are being handled. It is being handled. It is an employment issue. But this conversation is not helpful to the county. It drags the county through the mud. And I'm asking you to please move on and please deal with your differences with the county administrator in private, rather than dragging everybody into it.
Okay, may I say something?
Please proceed. I didn't mean to interrupt you before, but I wanted to
I
finish
can't
that.
very well go to the county administrator if I don't know. And I was told on this last Thursday. So I can't very well go to the man if I didn't know. I don't know who is supposed to be responsible telling that these contracts are null and void. I don't understand that. I'm supposed to go someplace and I don't know where I'm supposed to go.
If it is any employee of the county that works for county administration, the county and commission, they work for him. Pursuant to his contract, he is responsible for the employees. I find myself up here helpless to answer questions that haven't been discussed with the county administrator, haven't been discussed anywhere in
My
advance.
question to you is, how am I supposed to ask this man when I wasn't even told?
Okay, from here
I
on out,
wasn't
he's the
told.
man. He's the one.
So, I mean, this is the only round I have, is to come before you and say, what am I supposed to do? Now you're telling me that I'm supposed to go to the county administrator. I'll be happy to do so. I'll be happy to do so. But I'm telling you, I don't think waiting with less than 4 weeks to get 125,000 assessment lists in the mail is productive. That's all I have to say. That's all I have to say.
I
There's
can't there's
nothing.
a problem today when you haven't discussed it since Thursday with the people who had it within their power to come to answers.
I emailed that Leslie girl. I've never met the woman. I don't know if she's 20, I don't know if she's 110. I emailed her. I don't know, I've never met her. I do not know.
From henceforward, go to the county administrator as soon as you see a problem occurring so that we can come forward with answers and not just bouncing around and trying to figure out who's responsible for what. Go to the county administrator so we can have answers and help you solve the problem.
Thank you.
I mean, the thing is, I had called last spring for some kind of a system, and I think Commissioner Owen was in agreement. I don't want to speak for him, but I remember that, where we would have a system where our contracts, at least the major ones anyway, would somehow be on a system where there would be reminders to come up and say, okay, yeah, contract X is coming up in 90 days or whatever it would be. That doesn't seem to have gone anywhere. And what I find frustrating is to propose a solution and then and have that solution, shot down essentially, and then not, and then see the problem that I was trying to solve continue to come up. At this point, 2 weeks in a row. I believe 2 major contracts and a number of smaller ones indicates a pattern that is of concern. I think needs to be dealt with. It would be nice if it was dealt with before the problem got to this extent, though. I'm sorry, you were, please proceed.
I was just saying this is inexcusable, but that's just my opinion.
Okay. Are there any other office holder comments on non-agenda items?
Commissioners,
Yes.
Cory Portwood.
Oh, I'm sorry. I heard the voice. I didn't see where it was coming from. I
Finance
apologize.
Administrative Services, I just want to be clear, the information regarding the updates as far as when the contracts come up for renewal is only as good as the information that is put in that contract renewal base. There is a staff issue in the purchasing department. We will address it.
It's, like I say, 5 months is a long time for us to be late.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Maybe there were reasons why those 5 months had to go without addressing the particular staff person involved. Maybe there were reasons, but we shouldn't be discussing employment issues and employee issues up here.
I'm just, by the way, Mr. Counselor, I don't believe I'm drifting into personnel issues. I'm talking about the process that seems to be failing us to be able to renew contracts. Am I on the positive side of that particular line?
Clearly, on the policy side, you talk about the concerns. On the personnel side, of course, we get individual personnel discussions with individual concerns.
And that's why I didn't really want to get into whoever was responsible. What I'm talking about is there's a failure of procedure, whether it is structural or whatever, I don't know. But there's a failure here, and one that I think is serious. And I would urge staff to take up. They've indicated they will, and I certainly urge them to take that up and not find us continually kind of in some sort of a loop on this thing. Any other office holders who would have comments on non-agenda items? Seeing none. Are there any members from any agencies who have comments on non-agenda items? Seeing none. I believe the counselor had mentioned that we have a courtesy resolution. So if we could, who would it be, the assistant administrator?
Assistant County Administrator Brown will be handling that.
Great. Please proceed when you are ready.
Nicole Brown, Assistant County Administrator for Public Services. Today we have a courtesy resolution designating World Pancreatic Cancer Day, and we have a member of the public here to receive that resolution from the Commission.
Let's go ahead and hear from the person, and then if you wouldn't mind. And by the way, what we will end up doing, I believe, is we'll go ahead and stand at ease for a little bit so that we can congratulate after you've had your remarks and any of the commissioners. After we discuss this particular thing, we will stand at ease for maybe 5 minutes. Excuse me. Please proceed.
Thank you. My name is Catherine Grayson. I am a volunteer for the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. We do have an affiliate here in Kansas City. Thursday, November 17th is World Pancreatic Cancer Day. World Pancreatic Cancer is very special to me. I actually lost my father in 2005. Since then, I have made it one of my life goals to be his voice. It used to be no one knew what pancreatic cancer was, or in my instance, who knew that you could get cancer of the pancreas, who knew what the pancreas did. Since that time frame, like I said, I run the affiliate here in Kansas City. I have lost numerous friends to this disease. It's become more and more prevalent. You hear from more celebrities who have been affected by this disease. So it is very important, and we appreciate, on behalf of the affiliate, the County of Clay County recognizing World Pancreatic Cancer Day. It has become the third leading cause of cancer death in America. It just recently surpassed breast cancer. The 5-year survival rate is 8%. In the 10 years that I've been involved with this organization, that has changed 2%. When I first started, it was 6%. The survival rate is now 8%. In the state of Missouri, 860 Missourians will be affected by this disease this year alone, and 53,000 Americans will be affected. And of that 53,000, 41,000.
Take your time and be completely at ease. We appreciate you being here, so I realize it's difficult speaking, but please be at ease.
Thank you. 42,000 people will lose their lives. There's no early detection. There's no cure. There's very limited treatment options for this disease. So, again, on behalf of the organization, we appreciate you guys recognizing this day as something that is important to many people here in the city. So we appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Other than that, that's really much all that I have to say. So I appreciate, again, the commission taking the opportunity to designate this day on Thursday. And I ask in support that everyone wear purple. It's our color of choice. For those, I'm a KU fan, so it's been very hard to adapt to this color, but I have done it graciously. So again, with Thursday being World Pancreatic Cancer Day, we ask that you wear purple and spread the news of, the awareness that this is what the day entails. So thank you very much for your time.
Well, we absolutely appreciate you being here, and it's one of the things that I hope that this courtesy resolution will serve, and that is to exactly what you're saying, bring more attention to it. So often these diseases, especially something as pernicious as pancreatic cancer, seems to kind of fall through the cracks a little bit. So the ability that we have to support what you're trying to do as far as building awareness, because the first step towards success in fighting and hopefully defeating this disease is to create awareness in the minds of the public, and that's what makes this, I think, a very useful exercise. So I appreciate you coming forward. I appreciate the work that you do. I don't know that you could find anyone who has not had cancer touch their lives or the lives of a family member. So it is a highly emotional subject, and I appreciate you being able to come up here, stand up, which is not an easy thing, and make this presentation, but you did extremely well, and we appreciate that you have the courage and the tenacity to continue this fight.
Thank you.
Commissioner,
The only thing I want to congratulate the society on, and the people who have worked on this for so long, is the survival rate has increased. It's inching up. And my father-in-law passed away because of pancreatic cancer, and certainly know the devastation that it brings. But if there's any little bit of good news right here, is that people like you are stepping forward, and 6%, 8%, right direction.
Yes, it's a small step, and we'll take it. So, yes, but thank you. Thank you.
if you would bring the resolution, I guess we'll go ahead and just stand at ease. We will stand at ease for, let's say 10 minutes, and put us on the other one. Thank you.
Thank you.
All down to Dallas, people
Thank
volunteer
you.
too.
Thank you. Yes, that was
We should get, if you want, I think we should be able to, I read Mr. Lindsberger's copy of the crazy resolutions, but we like a copy of them. So if you guys want to copy of it.
good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much.
I was trying to get back to your second point, and I got so caught up in the third point, I did not get back, I sorry about that. It's a whole different area, but it, you know, anything along those lines, like I've got a friend that. And, you know, I really feel like, when that time you get that lock in my hand.
Get over it.
Yeah, I believe that. And it might have pull that one too much. But, no, that's the point of trying to move forward. The past is.
Yeah, it is what it is, you can't change it. I mean, yellow door, but you might be able to do something better.
In the Senate, I'm going to sign the lines, you know, under my time.
My comment to that is I didn't know you can't. I didn't realize that was so important that I could. That's my school.
Go to who?
Okay, it is 11 o'clock, so we will return from standing at ease. We had just dealt with the courtesy resolution. We will take up number 9, discussion items. There are none listed. Public hearing. Oh, Mr. Shea, hand up to be called on, I'm sorry. Public hearings, there are none listed. I believe we have an immediate action request, and that would be 2016 ordinance 27. Is that right, Mr. Administrator?
That's correct, Commissioner.
Please proceed.
2016-ordinance 27, that is an ordinance of the Clay County Commission, specifically reappropriate and revise the adopted budget for current year. The request is from the county sheriff. This is for reappropriation of EMPG grant fund to revise anticipated revenue from the state of Missouri reimbursement in 2016 as approved by county commission. Budget revenue was $31,168 less than what should have been budgeted.
Please proceed.
Good morning, Commissioners. Captain Will Eagle with the Clay County Sheriff's Office. Just wanted to bring this to your attention. All the monies have been budgeted. It's just we didn't know that the revenue budget line item had to be adjusted. We were fortunate this year that the state approved our third position. When the state got audited last year, it rolled down to the recipients of the EMPG grant this year. And what we didn't realize was, even though we were doing everything correctly, we just didn't have supporting documentation showing that we weren't supplanting the funding, we were just supplementing the funding.
I see.
And it wasn't, and we've been working on this throughout the months, and with very little direction. And it wasn't until Lord Corwood and the finance team happened to send a document, which was the revenue budget line item, the state said, oh, this is exactly what we needed. Oh, great. We have 6 weeks left to submit a year's worth of documents in order to get reimbursement for the APG portion of match funds. So by bringing it, and thank you for allowing this to go under immediate action, this gives us 2 more weeks to get everything submitted, answer any questions that the state has, and then receive reimbursement before the end of the year.
Okay. And could you just give us a quick, so everybody knows the purpose of the grant?
Yes, the emergency management performance grant is a grant that is passed on to the recipients from the Department of Homeland Security to supplement the emergency management program. So this allows, and really the funds are getting more distinct in the fact that 10 years ago, we were allowed to buy equipment. Today, we're only allowed to buy office supplies and supplement personnel's salaries. So that's where we're at now. And without the EMPG grant, we wouldn't be able to support the emergency management program in Clay County. So that's why it's so important to us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the work that you do and the Sheriff's Department does. Appreciate the Assistant Administrator getting the information to you in a timely manner so that we can proceed with making sure that we are working with the grant money as efficiently and as quickly as possible. Commissioner Owen, do you have anything you'd like to talk about?
I have a quick question. When you came on, we had emergency management at the airport. Now then we've got connected to the Sheriff Department and House Department.
That's a great question. Since emergency management went back to the Sheriff's Office, we've been able to streamline all the operations and update ourselves, not necessarily on paper, but within the region. Since taking over as the Director of Emergency Management, I've taken over a few leadership positions within the MARC region, one to include the Badging and Accountability Subcommittee. So that it's extremely important because if there's a mass event, how do we know that people are going into that area that are qualified? So that's part of what we're trying to do. But I'm also the vice chair for the Area Maritime Security Committee, which is responsible for the entire border of our county, but also Black County, Jackson County and Lafayette County, a portion of Lafayette County. But it's bringing us more involved with the rest of the region to find out what it is that we would be responsible, or the expectations of what we would be responsible for, and now we're in the planning portion.
I want to thank Sheriff Pescovo because he's the one that agreed to sort of combine this, and I thank him for that. And I also want to thank you because you're one of the main, for our emergency management, really good for our team. Thank you.
Well, I couldn't do it without everyone's help, so thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ridgway, did you have anything to comment?
Just echo the same remarks. Everything seems to be working well, working smoothly, working well with our administrative staff. So, good job.
Thank you.
I appreciate the fact that the Sheriff's Department, yourself, of course, but also the Sheriff's Department is taking an active and a leadership role in the concerns that we have throughout the area here. So that's something I think that is important for a county of our size to be able to exert that kind of leadership. And I'm just happy we have people in place who are able to display that kind of leadership and really, bring us into the role that I think we need to be in as a county.
With that, I'll make a motion to approve 2016 ordinance.
Motion has been made. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Owen?
Yes.
Commissioner Ridgway?
Yes.
Commissioner Nolte?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to our regular agenda, 2016-331, Mr. Administrator.
2016-331 is a resolution of the Clay County Commission. Request is from Public Services. It's approving and adopting a disaster recovery policy and cryptographic key management policy for the Clay County Information Technology Department. The
representative from Public Services is here and will present on this item.
Please proceed.
Nicole Brown, Assistant County Administrator for Public Services. This is what was presented last week. I would ask that the Commission adopt these policies so that we can be in compliance with Commerce Bank and NACHA.
Commissioner Richmond?
Other than make a motion to approve 1633.
Motion has been made to approve 2016-331. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk. Oh,
How does this affect other offices, or does it?
please go ahead, hold on a moment. Go ahead and speak into the microphone, identify yourself. and
Kathy
your
Ryan,
response.
County Assessor, how does this affect other offices? Or does it? Or is this only to affect the county?
Assistant Administrator, could you address that?
Offices that take ACH payments will be affected. They will need to follow the policies that have been laid out.
Okay. So where are the policies?
They're part of what we're approving.
Is that going to be on the licenses?
Please go ahead and speak into the microphone.
I'm just asking, are they going to be online someplace so we can find them?
Um,
I mean, I don't take money, I get that. So this is just for offices that take money? Is this going to encrypt what is?
I'll tell you what, first off, let's go ahead and I will ask the Assistant Administrator question and then we'll recognize the collector if she has some thoughts that she'd want to express. There is a mechanism, I take it, to distribute these, what seem to be mandatory policies. Is that correct? Is that a correct characterization?
We would be happy to distribute them.
But I mean, we're going to anyway, though.
Yes.
Okay. Madam Collector, if you'd like to.
Just to reiterate from last week, Commerce Bank does not require this for my office. So the county is welcome to have their policies and procedures, but I cannot consent to a third party having cryptographic key control over my software, and Commerce Bank does not require it in my office. So it's fine if you pass the policy, but I'm not consenting to a third party taking control over password access to my software, and especially when there's no requirement for it.
Excuse me. If the collector is not prepared at this time to follow these policies, then I would ask that it be put on regular. Last week, I had asked that if there's something in writing from Commerce Bank relieving her of these policies, we would need to see it. I have yet to see those documents, so if it can be put on regular, I would appreciate it.
I spoke to county council.
First off, we are on regular agenda, so.
Well, we're on
Yeah,
regular.
this is a business session.
It's a business session, but the thing of it was.
But you mean, are you saying that you are requesting that we put on regular agenda for our next meeting? I'm trying to follow what you're saying.
Yes, what I said, asking to put it on regular.
For next
Any
week.
time to communicate.
So I have a question. My notes say that the county commission asked the county council and the county administrator to work on this. Did the collector communicate with you, Mr. Counselor?
I've talked with both the collector on this as well as staff on this.
Okay, are you ready to go forward with passing this in today?
I don't necessarily want to speak to the IT side. I mean, there are three different documents here.
Okay.
And here's my suggestion, yes, and based on what I know, and if others find it to be an unworkable approach, let me know, but there's three different documents. One document is from Commerce Bank, and I think representation has been that they would like that signed, and that document needs to be signed and sent to them. The other two documents are policies. Those are internal policies for the county. My suggestion would be to pass this, because then you can sign the document Commerce needs. Understanding the two policies can be changed at any time if we believe that it needs to be tweaked somewhere, or it needs to be addressed, or even removed. I mean, that's simple to do. But I guess I'm a little concerned, and I don't know IT's point on this, whether we need to have this Commerce Bank document signed. We're getting close to the end of the year. I think the representation was it needed to be signed by the end of the year.
And that's been my concern. And I see these three documents in here. The only thing that we're authorizing signature of that goes to Commerce Bank is the 2.5-page document. Well, actually, it's less than a 2.5-page document us in compliance with whatever Commerce Bank wants, because we have a lot of ACHs that have to be processed, so, from the administration side. So, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you're saying, let's go ahead and sign this. If we have to tweak the internal policies later, we will.
I think it's a reasonable approach.
Okay.
So is it your opinion, Mr. Counselor, that the agreement with Commerce is something, and I assume into the year, so while we do have time, clearly we don't want to run the clock down. That is something that we absolutely have to do.
Well, I know the collector's office is the account holder, so the collector's office has signed it, which is appropriate. And my understanding is, I've not spoken to Commerce, my understanding is Commerce has asked the county commission also.
So really, the Commerce Bank, from your conversations with them, to them what our internal policies are, it is, I wouldn't say a matter of indifference, but their focus is obviously on the agreement that they have put forward.
Correct.
So we could, I mean, is your problem, Madam Collector, is your issue more accurately with the Commerce agreement, or is it with the policy statements that are attached to this?
Yeah, exactly. I'm fine with Commerce, and Commerce has represented to me that I'm fine and I'm in compliance. So I don't need additional policies in my office. Obviously, I'm more than happy to work with the county. Once again, there is no role for an office holder in this policy, and I asked for that from the first moment I knew about it. So that's my only thing. I mean, we're back again, which just caused me to try to lock down my office last week, because when I asked for a role for the office holder in things that directly impact my bond and the secure operations of my office, there just isn't one written into the policy. That's not pointing fingers or blaming anyone, but it needs to be written into the policy. There needs to be an integral and important role for me in that policy. And I did express that within 24 hours of getting the policy from county staff.
Commissioner Smith?
Did you provide documentation from Commerce Bank that they need nothing further from you?
I spoke to county council after the meeting last
Did
week.
you provide the documentation to the county council?
No, I thought he was satisfied, but if I can provide a copy if he needed, that's fine. He came to me and he goes, this form right here, this is what you signed, and I said, yes.
Okay, could you just provide the
Sure,
documents?
yeah, I can forward you one right now.
Is it important, Mr. Counselor, that you get those, I mean, it sounds like we're all in agreement. I'm not sure if we need to actually document each other as long as we put out the same path. I mean, it would be nice, but it doesn't sound impactful.
Well, it's not essential, but I think it's probably good policy.
Good practice?
Yeah, I think it's good practice for us to see what conversation, because what we don't want is, what's the first day of January? January 2nd, we get an emergency note from Congress saying,
Exactly.
we missed second base, and nobody knows what that is.
Yeah, we've kind of had enough of that. So I'm going to make a suggestion here. The assistant administrator had suggested possibly putting 331 off to a regular agenda next week. What I'm wondering is, in the interest of being compliant with the rules that Commerce has outlined to us, would it be an idea for us to possibly approve today and sign the Commerce portion of that, and then go ahead and push off the remainder of it for a discussion? Because once we've passed something, it makes it a little more difficult to go back. I think we would be acting in good faith. I think it would be more of an act of good faith with the office holders if we got their input before. It kind of gets back to the permission forgiveness thing. So maybe we should be including them in these policies that affect their offices prior to passing the resolution. So.
The county counselor has already said that we can tweak the policy based on whatever discussion has to occur. The only thing that is critical is the Commerce Bank document. That's what would be signed. The policies don't even have to be signed. So
what I'm saying is basically divide the question and go ahead and pass the Commerce part today, because if we pass the policy and then ask their opinion about it, that doesn't seem, while it is practical and can be done, and obviously it can be done, I think if we're talking about really setting up some kind of a consensus building process, I think and since there seems to be no big hurry, the urgency is with Commerce is that we discuss the policy, the internal policy part next week. So I guess what I'm proposing is that we divide the question between the Commerce agreement and vote on that, and then take the two remaining policy and move them, as the assistant administrator had suggested, to next week to allow more time for office holders to be able to input their views into this, so we can be working, I think, in something that at least I believe looks like a good faith effort.
I think procedurally, just so I'm clear, I think I heard Commissioner Ridgway actually move to approve 331 as is. Is that correct? Did you do that?
And we were actually in the middle of voting on that. I think somebody's already cast a vote.
Well, there's a motion on the table to approve 331.
Right. And
Procedurally, I think that's where we are.
here's my concern about chopping this up. As I'm reading through this document about Commerce Bank, it indicates that certain documents have to be provided no later than December 31 of this year. Now, I realize the gun is not in our head, but we also have things as a county commission through the administration that has to be processed pursuant to what this audit letter will affect. The collector's already said it doesn't affect her, and she's got documentation that she will provide indicating that it does not affect her. I'm concerned if we don't go ahead and go forward, this is going to get dragged out, and we are, as the county councilor said, we failed to get to second base on this thing. I would like to go ahead and pass my motion as is, because we're facing a year-end deadline, and I don't believe the county commission should be out of compliance with what Commerce Bank is requiring.
Well, certainly, I am very willing to make sure that we don't allow any agreements to not be executed on time, if possible. I'm just talking about the other. As Madam Clerk, just to clarify, has there been a vote already? Has there been one recorded vote on this?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, well, you're the official person here.
I have the motion made.
Parliamentary point, Mr. Counselor. The motion was made. We were preparing to vote on it. Is my divide the question motion untimely?
I can speak on the point of order.
I know you could, but I'm asking the Counselor.
Well, the parliamentarian, as parliamentarian, we're allowed to speak on the point of order. Rules.
I don't mind getting your input, but I recognize the Counselor, and I would absolutely be happy to recognize you, but I want to go and ask the Counselor. It is because if my motion is not on a timely basis, then I need to withdraw it or just let it go. So I just want to know if my motion is timely or not.
I think your motion, is untimely.
Okay.
You could do a motion to amend.
I don't want to get that bogged down in all this. If your thought is that my motion was not made on a timely basis, then the rules apply to me as much as they do anyone else. So I think that I will go ahead and just, unless there's further comment, we will go ahead and commence with the vote. I would like it to have been where we would have a chance to get input prior to passing policy. But we will do the best we can, and I hope there will be a good faith effort to go back and amend this if there are some overriding concerns expressed by office holders. But I probably should have been quicker on the draw, I guess, is what it amounts to. So, we were in discussion. Commissioner Ridgway, did you have anything you needed to add? Because I need to recognize you now.
We can back the tape up, but I'm pretty sure you already said Madam Clerk called it.
But it's rather a moot point since the counselor told me my motion was not timely. Therefore, I can't pursue it. It's not timely.
Can we go ahead and call the roll on my motion?
Yes, I just wanted to give you the chance to, because I interrupted you and I wanted to give you a chance to say something. So, we will go ahead. There is no further discussion. And third, please call the roll.
Commissioner Ridgway.
Yes.
Commissioner Owens.
Yes.
Commissioner Nolte.
Yes. All right, that brings us down to 2016-289, Mr. Administrator.
2016-289 is a resolution of the Clay County Commission. Request is from Public Services. It's approving term and supply bid number 18-16 with Scopos and Car Strategies LLC. A representative from Public Services is here and will present on this item.
Please proceed.
Nicole Brown, Assistant County Administrator for Public Services. Last week, it seemed that there were questions about the background of CAR strategies. Alan Carr is here today to field those questions.
Please present. Identify yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Alan Carr. I'm the owner of Car Strategies. And we are a destination marketing group. So I formed the company about 15 months ago. I've worked with roughly a dozen clients in the Missouri and Kansas area. And the focus is strictly on helping destinations grow their tourism and their visitation to their communities or to their county. And I'm happy to answer any specific questions you may have.
Yeah, I do have a couple. You had worked with Platte County Visitor Convention and also with St. Joe. Those were two of the four client sightings that you had. And what struck me was it was a rather short period of time. And as long as it's not divulging anything or crossing any lines, can you kind of give us a...
Absolutely. There's really two kind of categories of services that I provide. One is the marketing strategy. So I go in and help the destination understand who would want to visit that destination, what types of visitors would they be able to target, and then help them create a plan and a strategy that they can then go in and implement themselves. So for my Platte County project, that was what I did. I actually helped them in conjunction with the Missouri tourism grants that are made available to counties and destinations, and helping them develop a plan and a co-op plan that they could get their communities involved. For independents, I actually am working on not only worked on the strategy, but helping them implement the strategy, which would be more in line with what you're looking to do here. So I am working with them not only in who should you market, but then helping get the ads created and trafficked with the publications, making recommendations of where you should be advertising and who you should be advertising with.
And was you guys had mentioned you'd also done St. Joe Commission visitors. Was that done in the partnership that Platte and St. Joe had kind of put together, because there was one had a lack of hotels, so there was kind of a supplemental thing, if I understand?
St. Joe, I've actually done a couple projects with them. They're all very small project with St. Joe. I consulted with them on, they do a newspaper insert in the Kansas City Star, and with some recommendations on how to better target a Kansas City audience. I've also done some public relations work with them, helping to attract travel writers to their destination to write stories to get that free publicity about St. Joe. So I've represented them at a couple conferences, and they're actually doing a press tour with some travel media that's in partnership with St. Joe and Platte County and Kansas City, Kansas, that I've helped with them organize.
Okay, and that was something that was a short-term project.
Absolutely.
It was like 6 months or something.
Less than that, yeah.
Yeah, so it was very short. And you, excuse me, you have a connection with the Kansas City. But go ahead, to the degree you can expand on that, please.
Sure, absolutely. My background, I have about 15 years experience in tourism marketing. I spent about 10 years with Visit KC, which is the major destination marketing organization here in our metropolitan region. And so I oversaw the marketing and communications team there and helped them develop everything related to their marketing, public relations strategy and plans, overseeing a team of 10 people there. Prior to that, I worked for a local ad agency where I worked on behalf of the Missouri Division of Tourism. So I actually helped develop tourism and public relations programs for the Missouri Division of Tourism through their ad agency.
What year was that?
That would have been prior to my 10 years at Visit KC, so that, 12 years ago or so now.
The reason I was asking was when I was in the legislature, I was on the tourism committee. There were different structures of that particular thing, but 6 to 8 years I served on the committee that would oversee the tourism activities of the county, the state. So I was kind of wondering, I wasn't sure if we'd cross paths or not. I doubt we kind of got a little bit more of 30,000 foot view.
It would have been roughly 2002, I believe 2002 to 2004.
That would have been just as I was coming in, so we would not have crossed paths. The other thing is that, I think the relationship with the Kansas City Visitors Bureau, certainly, I think there are advantages and there are concerns. One is that I would want to make sure that we were not looked upon as kind of a subset. So you work with them, are they one of your clients right now?
No, so I am no longer with Visit KC, but I think that experience, what it enabled me to do was get to know a lot of the communities around this region and develop relationships. And I think what I've discovered in the work that I've done, I've worked with a number of the community communities in the region in this last year and a half. Everyone has their own unique story to tell, and I think that's very true for Clay County and your communities here. And so I think what I'm looking to do is help your tourism team develop those reasons, whether it's your outdoor experiences, your history, the great exciting attractions you have, all of those things that help visitors want to come to Clay County. And I think the experience I have with the various destinations in the region is an asset to that.
Well, that's one of the things that I want to make a point of was that your past association with Visit KC, I may have the name not quite right, but basically Visit KC, is a good thing because I think there is a degree of cooperation and I think the more of those kinds of lines that we can establish, the better. We'll be talking about the tourism board coming up pretty soon, and the more people we have involved in this process who have a connection to Kansas City, I think the better while we need to have our own separate, distinct identity, there's no getting away from the proximity and obviously the overlap with the city limits in Clay County. I was at an event about a month ago, and Visit KC was making a presentation. It was at one of the airport hotels, and one of the things that I found a little disturbing was that the Northland and the counties were not very well, basically the only thing that they seemed to be there for was more Kansas City orientated type things, which I thought was kind of odd since we were in Clay County. I was hoping it would be a little more reflective of our immediate concerns and what we have to offer, not necessarily building an airport or something. So I found that's probably I want to kind of clarify that because I think I feel a lot more comfortable knowing that we would not be basically a subset of Kansas City, but a pretty much freestanding kind of an operation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the smartest things that I would recommend is you tap into those Kansas City visitors, right? Those people that are interested in coming to the generic Kansas City, but get them to come stay in Clay County, come do things in Clay County, come spend their money in Clay County, because that's ultimately what this is about, is to get these visitor dollars, which are people that aren't normally spending money in your county, to come here and give you their money that can go into your tax rolls.
And that's one of the other things that I was, again, it was something that I'm thinking more in terms of timing right now, and that is we are still working through a lot of deferred maintenance in places like Smithville Lake. And it concerns me a little bit that if we rev up the engine, get a lot of people to come here. It's a little bit like inviting people over for dinner and then cleaning your house after they've left. It doesn't really, I'm concerned that we are putting our best foot forward, that we have our deferred maintenance and our issues taken care of as much as we possibly can, so that when we do generate these visitors, they see us at our best, essentially, I guess what is something I'm concerned about. So I want to make sure that our timing is really kind of right on this. Is there what is the matrix that we would use to measure success? And I don't know whether it would be best you or the assistant administrator, but I'm trying to figure out what defines success as far as we go through the process, we expend these funds. What are we going to be looking at to measure whether or not we have achieved what we want to achieve? Is there going to be traffic? Is it number of dollars? How do we measure that? I'm trying to figure out how we can evaluate the expenditure of money and how well we spent it.
What I usually recommend with destinations is kind of a two-tiered approach. So I call it the outcome and the output. So for the outcome, what we're ultimately wanting to do is increase tourism to the county, which is best measured by dollars. So looking at, are there increases in hotel revenues? Are there increases in tax collections? The state of Missouri has identified I think it's 17 SIC codes. So are there increases to tax collections in those specific codes that are tied to tourism? So those would be those outcome measures. The output measures would measure what we're trying to do is inspire people to get information about coming to Clay County. So are more people going to your website? Are people requesting your brochures? Are people signing up for information? Are more people visiting your attractions? Those kind of things would be the output measures.
Yeah, the NAICS codes, are something I think that really is a hard number to measurable, because the information derived from those codes is pretty hard information, and so we don't want to identify those particular lines in the revenues?
That's the million-dollar question, I'll tell you, with destination marketing, because you don't have a turnstile that we can measure how many people come into the county on any given day. So what we have to look at are there specific sites you may have in the county that actually can measure how many people that come through the door, or again, that revenue collection is the other way that we can look at it. You do find a lot of destinations will do studies, tourism studies, that they ask after the fact, did you come? And so that's something to look at, but that would be additional cost that you would have to look at.
So really, what you're talking about, the task you're talking about performing is not a retrospective of, did you come, did you have a nice time, but it's more like bringing it in the door. That's your immediate mission, obviously. Did you, is there any way that, because I think your contract ended like this year with Platinum St. Joseph, that was like April, May, so I don't know if there's had time for any of these numbers, but is there some way that can you give us some idea of how success was defined in those particular instances?
Well, probably the best thing would be Independence. As I said, it's the most similar to what I'm doing now, so I'm working with them on a continuing basis. And we just wrapped up their spring-summer campaign in Independence. And they saw, I'm sorry, I don't have specific percentages in my head, but they saw more than doubling of the number of inquiries that they were receiving, of people requesting Independence Visitors Guide, people visiting their websites, people visiting them in their social media channels. So we were able to generate a lot more interest. And then as we'll look at the months going forward, how does that translate into hotel revenues, et cetera.
And one of the things that, because we have done a little survey that has gone out for people coming to the parks, and I don't really know how many have been distributed, but we've gotten 29 back last I heard, which is not a statistically valid number as far as trying to determine. So, I mean, it was, I don't know if I'd say it was money wasted, but it doesn't seem as though it has given us what we would be able to come up with as far as a solid information that would inform your efforts going forward.
The way I would look at all of that, I think all data is great, and if it's not enough to be scientifically valid, it's directional. So it can give us almost like a focus group type of experience, letting us know some of the preferences. Now, we can't take that to the bank in terms of saying that this is absolutely what everyone believes, but all data gives you some information that we can pull something out.
Right, yeah, I mean, the thing is you can get some indication from it, but clearly you cannot really take it back because you might get I mean, it is, that small sampling. If that day there was something closed, you're going to get 20 people saying, well, your access is terrible, but that could be because of a momentary situation, whether it was a transportation emergency that had to be accounted for. So it kind of throws you off a little bit as far as what you're able to actually glean from that. So you almost have to kind of dig in there and, like I say, it's indicated, but I don't know that it really tells you what the, it doesn't give you a pulse, it just tells you there is a pulse, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it. What are some of the other, so you've been involved in this, because you've been in business since June of last year, I believe.
Yeah, about 15 months.
Okay, and what is your, and I kind of put you up on LinkedIn, that's the wonders of the internet, obviously. So you say you've been doing this for, you mentioned since 2002, I guess, so that's...
So my tourism background experience goes back about 15 years, but in terms of establishing my own company, that's about 15 months.
Okay. And would you be, I mean, clearly you're, being a one-person shop, that means you do everything from account services to emptying waste paper baskets.
Yes and no. So I am currently a one-person shop, but I have a lot of partnerships that I've developed. So I work with partners. For example, I'm not a graphic designer, so if I need graphic design services, I've got some partnerships that I work cooperatively with some contract work for those sort of things.
No, I was ready for last week. There you go.
Well, like I said, I mean, the thing is, and I appreciate that because, like I said, when I see, 2 out of 4 of the references were short-term, I felt I really kind of needed to have some deeper information, a little better understanding of what it was that we were talking about. I'm glad you're there, Assistant Administrator. I was going to ask, so present contract, And then there's another one for, I believe, around 300. What is our, what is our current tourism budget? And I assume ramping up. So can you give me an idea of direction of where we at, where you anticipate us to be, assuming that the requests you make of our budget officer are fulfilled? Can you kind of give us an idea of overall what we're looking at on dollars and kind of project out a little bit on that?
I'd be happy to present you with the budget that you all passed for 2016, but I do not have that with me at this time.
Well, I mean, as far as, is this, and this is more of a broader question, I'm not looking for a, within a couple of dollars. What I'm saying is, if we have some kind of working idea of where we are and where we intend to be, so if we're spending this much now, are we gonna, is it your anticipation? I assume that there's a plan to, this is not a year-by-year plan, but there's a multi-year kind of direction. So at what point do we kind of ramp up? And I'm trying to get an idea of what our...
I'm trying to understand the question. What do you mean ramp up, and where we are?
Sure. I mean, is this pretty much the level of spending that we're looking at right now? Is that sufficient? Are we going to be spending more in the out years? Because you can only put so much money through the pipeline at one time. So what I'm looking for is the overall strategic plan in a very, very broad brushed way that says, okay, we're spending this much now. We're going to spend, X number of dollars more until we get to, say, 2018 for an arbitrary number. And that's where we kind of hit the level of spending that we feel is adequate for what the job that we're trying to accomplish.
I think that we will be looking for the commission to set the tone of that policy. Right now, we have increased our ask for tourism because we have the matching grant. Every dollar that we spend, the state spends $1.
And what, I'll get back to you. What is the amount of that grant? I don't have that off the top of my head. Or can you give me at least, I don't expect, like you say, a to the dollar number, but you can give me a broad idea of what we're looking at as far as those funds go?
I'd be happy to prepare that information for you. I would hate to give you incorrect information.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, we've had this a week, and it is, the packet that we got for this is rather lengthy, and I've tried to go over it a couple of times to sort of sort through that. So, it's kind of a lot to take in, and I'm not sure I've been as up to speed as I possibly could have been as far as up to this point, because we've been going through this process since June, so it's just kind of hit my desk here. So I was wanting to kind of get a little bit better up to speed than I have been. Commissioner, I think you have a question.
I do think this past year we were designated as a tourism destination point, and didn't that include about $200,000 for tourism?
Yes, it's around that number. I hate to give you an exact figure and be incorrect.
So, I mean, with that, whereas I think Kansas City was the tourism department for Clay County, and so we didn't really get a lot of that money. So now then, because we've been designated as that tourism destination point, we'd be able to spend more money directly for Clay County.
Yes, that money only grants Clay County along with the state. Before this, we were giving money towards a partnership with Kansas City. We had very little control over those advertisements, and it seemed like we were often passed over for other destinations in the metro area.
That's, I don't know, that's 200,000. That's crazy. That's quite a bit. So that's pretty good for Clay County.
And so essentially, and again, not holding any figures, but we will be spending around 200,000, so that we pull down around 200,000.
Whatever that number is, it will be matched dollar for dollar by the state.
Right. And then the matching funds from the state are essentially for media buys. Are they for also things like our vendors on this, or is that a separate line item?
Media buys can be included. It includes print advertisements in magazines, online publications, billboards, things like that.
Right, but it does not include necessarily what we're talking about with Mr. Carr.
We do have input that will not be matched dollar for dollar by the state.
No, that's kind of what I was getting at, when I was trying to look at our liabilities. So if, the money that we will be contracting to pay Mr. Carr is essentially going to be out of Clay County tax rolls, not a matching pull down or anything like that. That's correct?
Yes.
Commissioner Benjamin, did you,
No, I'm just glad that we finally recognized and we budgeted funds for tourism. I mean, it is one of the top 2 industries in the state of Missouri, and up to this point, tourism was getting
left behind as an economic development driver. We've finally seen the benefit of that. Our volunteer tourism board did an excellent job of working with our staff to discover these grants and to also get us free with the blessings of the Kansas City Area Tourism Authority so that we could compound the dollars. Our state dollars were getting bled all over the state of Missouri, but they weren't coming home here. So congratulations to our staff and to our tourism board for finding a way to bring our state tax dollars home so that we can make it work for us and develop what should be a big economic engine for us as we continue to grow in that area.
Well, I do appreciate it because it is something that, as you say, the state is one of our obviously largest sources of employment. One of the things I concern myself with is that it's not one of the higher tier levels of employment. So a person in that industry does not maybe make as much as a manufacturing job, but still, jobs are jobs.
Well, actually, I meant the dollars that come back to the county. Because every tax dollar that's spent here, every dollar that's spent with regard to a tourist coming here, far exceeds just a service job, for example. And so I'm talking about the net benefit to all businesses as well as to local subdivisions when people come here as a tourist. And there are projections, as you well know, from the Missouri Department of Tourism about what every tourist means when they spend a day in our county. And it's one of those situations where a rising tide raises all boats, because if they do come here to go to World's Fun or to the James facility or to Smithfield Lake, then people spend money at local businesses and they also purchase other items. So it's great that we're now looking at this as an economic engine for our county, because as you know, the bulk of the money that Clay County operates upon is sales tax money.
No, and like I say, I think we just look at it from a slightly different perspective. One of the ways that I tend to view these things is through the prism of job creation and how and the pay and the benefits attached to those jobs. All right. Do you have anything to add to this as administrator?
I do not, thank you.
Mr. Carter, did you have any? I mean, I didn't mean, we kind of went in our discussion and you had to say it. I want to make sure you didn't feel as though you did have your full statement. Okay. With that,
Move to approve 2016-289.
discussion, seeing none, I think we've had sufficient. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Ridgeway.
Yes.
Commissioner Owen. Commissioner Hilton.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Carter. Brings us to 2016-311A.
2016-311A is a resolution of the Clay County Commission that is requested by the County Commission that is related to transparency and open government.
Thank you very much. I do have one, I hope, final amendment that I would like to make for that, and then hopefully move on this reasonably quickly. And I've got it printed, and in despite the fact that it is set out in our issue that we are considering now, I went ahead and did it with the bold, the new language being bold, and then the other language being regular font. We'd like also made a copy for the clerk's office. What I am looking at is an amendment that would be under E. The existing language is staff shall research a plan in conjunction with the county clerk and report to the commission no later than March 10, 2017 on the options for implementing a system to have audio and video recordings of the county commission available to the public through the county website and proposed cost thereof. What I'm proposing is to the addition of language which is as follows. No such recording made by the county clerk shall be deleted, edited, or otherwise tampered with, nor shall any recording device of the county clerk's office be removed or disturbed except by the clerk or the clerk's designee. So I think we need to make sure that we preserve the integrity of that record if we're going to be putting it on there. I still have a great apprehension about the earlier part of it, the date, but I think that this will help maybe to resolve some problems and, like I say, preserve not only the integrity of the recording, but also clearly the recording device, like the one that is sitting about 2 feet from me, is property of the clerk's office, and we need to, I think, respect the ability for her to control her equipment and assets.
Did you run this past, pursuant to our rules, past the county administrator before you proposed this?
No, it's not.
So the county administrator, you haven't seen this?
Yeah, matter of fact, I don't even have a copy of what.
I'm sorry.
I object to this amendment at all and ask that it be tabled because it fails to comply with commission rules.
I would say no, I don't believe that is, and I'm sure that you cannot challenge the point of order, so.
I feel a little chair.
Ruling chair, thank you, I didn't get the phrase correct. Okay, very well.
The question is, shall the rule of the chair be sustained? I'll be voting no.
Let me know when I can jump in, okay? The question before us, as Commissioner Ridgway in her usual style has mentioned, is shall the ruling of the chair be upheld? Discussion, seeing none. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Ridgway?
No.
Commissioner Rowland?
No.
Commissioner Knowles?
Yes. So the ruling of the chair is not upheld, and therefore the amendment will. Mr. Counselor, would that be tabled, or is it just kill it altogether? I would think it kills it altogether. I mean, yeah, because Commissioner Ridgway had mentioned tabling it, but I don't believe that is the procedure.
Well, there's no motion to table, I think it is
Correct.
just simply removed.
Right.
So the amendment is removed.
Yes.
Right, not tabled, as you mentioned. The thing is, because you had mentioned table, I wanted to establish the clarity on our procedures here. So that brings us back to the underlying resolution. I still have problems with this. We have not, in fact, we've removed any dealing with or any possible action on the issue of redaction. It's something that I have a lot of problems with. We had one from it, since it's been passed, I assume is a fit subject for discussion on the meeting. The invoice that was paid already, so is that something I can talk about? There was one of these redacted invoices that went through, it has been paid, so therefore it's a part of the public record, and I can discuss that. Is that right, Mr. Counselor?
Without knowing which one it is, and obviously,
It's the one I held up about 2 weeks ago.
okay,
So,
it's a public record that's been paid, you discuss this.
okay. The invoice was for, I guess, around $14,000. I don't know what it was paid for. It came through to us. When I got it in my packet, it was already redacted. I don't know what it was. Obviously, it only takes 2 signatures to pay these out. But I've got a real problem with the idea that if I get an invoice in that it has to be paid and it is redacted to the point that all I know is it's going to a law firm and I know the amount, that's a problem. That's a really big problem in my estimation. It had already been assigned and sent out, so it was rather a moot point. So that is something that I think makes me very apprehensive. The other thing, as I alluded to before, is why we need to go till 20, at the end of the first quarter, into the first quarter of 17, to be able to get something I think that is a relatively elementary thing is kind of beyond me. The other thing is, and this is more of a question that I have, and that is some of the provisions that have been put in do not have deadlines or dates. I don't know how important that is. I assume that if they don't have a deadline, then they would take effect upon passage. Does that make sense? So I was kind of, like I say, one of the things that I was concerned about was was like making the ordinance and the resolution searchable by subject or name on the county website. There was no real deadline put on that. That leads me to a concern, but it's not one that I'm necessarily ready to jump up and down about, but it is one that I want to at least voice, and that is that we seem to not we have deadlines on some, but not every action. So I am taking it on the assumption that those will all take place, those are all to be done immediately on passage. Is that valid, Mr. Counselor?
Yeah, they will become enforceable or power as soon as they're passed and signed. Of course, there's kind of a practicality aspect to it.
That was where I was going, because the one where we talked about making items searchable on the county website, I thought that, although obviously staff is aware of that, it seemed to me reasonable to cut them a little slack on that. Now, we didn't do it here in writing, but I would not see it as in the least fair for me then to leave this podium after the meeting we've decided to go log onto my computer and say, by golly, what's happening? It's not working. So I do, understand that there has to be some reasonable amount of time. We haven't put that time in there, but I think that we can all agree that there is a period of adjustment that has to be taking place. So, like I said, not a huge point, but we have put deadlines in on other things. That's why I mentioned that. With that, especially the redaction thing, that bothers me tremendously. I have some real apprehension. I have a hard time voting in favor of this particular altered resolution. Is there any further discussion, Commissioner Owen? Do you have anything?
I'll make motion to approve 2016-311.
Okay, motion's been made. Discussion. Commissioner Ridgway didn't have a chance to go to you, but obviously now you've got your chance.
First of all, I mean, this is a great move in advancing transparency in Clay County, because up to this point, yes, we have participated in the transparency portal, but there was no ordinance that required us to participate in the Missouri Transparency Portal. That's now part of our ordinances. If this ordinance didn't do anything else, it was well worth that to make sure that we're participating in the portal. And also to require that it be a unanimous vote by any commission to determine to end its participation in the portal. That is a huge advancement, because that means that no two commissioners could decide. It has to be a supermajority, it has to be unanimous to get us out of the portal. I can't imagine that people would vote to take us out of the portal, but who knows what would happen in the future. We've also got some good news, and the transparency portal has to be updated at least every 30 days. We state exactly what needs to be in the portal. The other thing, we've taken care of some cleanup work that occurred as we participated in the portal with regard to deceased employees, to make sure that their name is deleted within 60 days of their last payroll. That's good government. That should have been done, and that was good. Also, we've given office holders a different option. Instead of saying you have to opt out in whole, they can determine that there may be one or two employees that need to be opted out for confidentiality, safety reasons, without having to exempt all their employees. I think that's a good option for our elected office holders. Also, the ability to have the transparency portal by link to the county website, contracts and agreements, that's good for small business so that people know what contracts or services or goods are out there. Also, by having just all the sunshine requests. I think we're up to over almost 140 sunshine requests this year. Well, instead of having to make a do-over sunshine request, we will work to get those on either the county website or the portal so that people can go and look and see what's there. This is all good government. It's good news. And I think we've all got reason to be very happy with work that we've done. The discussion that we've had is good, it's productive, and I think it's produced a good advancement in transparency in Clay County, so I'm happy to support it.
I do agree that there are some good things on there. The contract thing, obviously, with the issue having been up recently, perhaps we would have a little better idea of a heads up on that. Also, while I had some apprehension about the unanimous nature of the vote, having been on the short end of a 2-to-1 vote on more than one occasion, I do appreciate the idea that the minority will have some voice in how we go forward on this particular, on whether or not we stay in. So I think that's for those who find themselves in the minority, that's probably a good thing from that point of view. With that, is there any further discussion? Is there a motion? Or is there a motion? Okay, fine, okay. Motion is on the table. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Owens?
Yes.
Commissioner Ridgway?
Yes.
Commissioner Nolte?
Present. That brings us to the next item, and that would be 2016-341. Mr. Administrator.
2016-341 is a resolution of the Clay County Commission. That request is from actually Commissioner Milton, and that is appointing a member to the Tourism Advisory Board. The resolution has no name on it, and the term of this appointment shall expire January 31st, 2020.
I'd like to make the motion that the name be inserted be Tom Browning, who is one of our applicants. I hope I pronounced that name correctly, by the way. I do apologize if I did not do so. Mr. Ridgway,
Yeah, I'd
please.
like to make a substitute motion that Jim Hampton's name be included.
So, we need discussion on the substitute. Is that right, Mr. Counselor? I made a motion. Commissioner Ridgway made a substitute motion changing the name that would be put into the line available. Okay, so now we discuss her motion.
Yes.
Exactly. So just want to make sure that we were on track. Assistant Administrator, I believe you seem to have something that you'd like to share with us.
Yes, I just want to clarify for my understanding that would make it one singular name being appointed because there is only one vacancy.
Yeah, that was actually, I was going to ask that just to I was pretty sure it was the case, but it does hurt to verify that there is one, in fact, slot left in that advisory committee.
Yes, thank you.
Advisory board, I should say. While I'd like to speak on the substitute, while I've certainly known Mr. Hampton for some time, I believe that Tom has a better case to make. We just talked about with the advertising for tourism, the value of the connection with Kansas City and with some of the other areas around us. While Mr. Hampton does have some connections like that, Tom has got a lot more connections. He is with the, I think, Neighborhood Tourism Board of Kansas City. So he has the ability, I believe, to strengthen some of those connections and to, I would hope, help us to access more of the funds and more of the other assets that Kansas City has to offer. Commissioner, would you like to? Please go ahead.
We just talked about the connection between Kansas City and Kansas City's tourism in the past has shorted Clay County. And I'd like to have a Clay County guy. Jim Hampton is a Clay County guy, and I think it would really be a great aspect on the board.
Of course, both gentlemen are residents of Clay County. I believe that is a requirement, is it not?
That's correct.
Okay, so we have two. And once again, we are in a position where we have two, I think, very outstanding Clay County citizens willing to step forward. Commissioner, did you have any comments you would like to make?
Well, right, I mean, there's nothing stopping the Kansas City Neighborhood Tourism Board from supporting us in the past, which they have not done, or supporting us in the future, which I hope they will do. Mr. Hampton's home and business is located in Clay County. He well knows Clay County. Economic development and tourism cannot be separated. Mr. Hampton has served on the board once before. I had a discussion with Mr. Goring, and I asked him what he thought were the top needs with regard to tourism, and he said that he believed more neighborhood associations should have more neighborhood parties and neighborhood block parties, and he also thought we should have more festivals. That's probably not the answer that I was looking for. We need to move forward with a person that has their hands involved in economic development. I think Mr. Goring could bring some good assets to the table, and I'm hoping that he will assist in being able to pull some dollars from the Kansas City Neighborhood Tourism Board. But when I asked him what the tourism board was already funding, he indicated that they were funding the Italian festival, but he wasn't sure if that was in Platte County or Clay County. It's in Zona Rosa in Platte County. So I have to go with what I believe to be the more qualified individual, which is Mr. Hampton.
Commissioner, did you have anything to add? Yeah, I would, I think that we should be connecting more with some of the other groups. That was why I thought Mr. Running would be a good possibility. But that said, we will go ahead and call rolls for the comment. I see none. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Ridgeway.
Yes.
Commissioner Owen.
Yes.
Commissioner Nolte.
Present. So, Mr. Counselor, that means that we now, did that take care of 341, or did we do, or was that just on our substitute? That took care of that, didn't it?
It's a substitute, correct?
Yeah.
Takes care of it.
So, okay, we don't have to have another vote. I thought not, but I didn't want to skip over that and get that undone. All right, that completes our regular agenda. That brings us to our consent agenda. Is there a motion on the consent agenda? Motion has been made. Discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Owen.
Yes.
Commissioner Ridgeway.
Yes.
Commissioner Nolte.
Yes. Okay, and that brings us to, yes, okay, reports and written communication to the Commission. Are there any? Seeing none, comments from the Administrator, Mr. Administrator?
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Commissioner. On an annual basis, the county takes the time to recognize the various volunteers who donate their time, talent, and treasure to the county on our many boards and commissions. Clay County has more than 120 board volunteers that serve on nearly 30 boards. These volunteers account for thousands of donated hours each year. We certainly appreciate their generosity and expertise and will never be able to truly repay their efforts. This year, we will host the Clay County Board and Commission Social this Wednesday, November 16th, from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Restoration, 1894 Liberty Square. And also, Commissioners, once again, want to remind you, pursuant to the County Administrator's contract, item 2G on page 5, the employee will continue to supervise and direct the drafting of the Commission agenda and all resolutions, ordinances, and contracts as prepared by the County Councilor for presentation to the Commission.
Thank you. Well said on the topic of the volunteers for our boards and commissions. They do a great job. Commissioner Owen? Turn it over. Your comments, please.
First of all, I think the sewer study was tabled for the airport, and I'd like to, we need to take a vote to take it off the table to discuss that next week for the next work session.
If it was just tabled, that would take a motion to hold off.
I'd like to make a motion that we take the sewer study off the table and present it for next week for discussion.
What is the procedure on that, Mr. Counselor, just so we are clear? Would that be made now? Certainly he can make his intentions known, which is probably very helpful, because that way everybody gets kind of a heads up. But would that motion be more appropriate at the time?
I think probably the simplest thing to do would be, since there wasn't an actual resolution in place, would be for Commissioner Owen to just communicate to the county administrator that he would like to have that resolution put back on. This is now,
It's required of.
what's that?
It's on the table, so we voted to put it on the table, so.
Well, correct. So if it's on our agenda, then you put the agenda on the table would be one approach. And also, it's a new term, so I think the way the statute's written, I think it has a new term to come back on.
And it was not, if I remember correctly, Commissioner, it was not tabled to a date certain. It was tabled indefinitely. So what you're saying, just to make sure that the procedure is clear, Commissioner Owen has made known his intention to have it brought up at the next meeting. And what you're saying is putting it, or removing it from the table, bringing it up once again, by having that put on the agenda. In
Right.
fact, solves what the Commissioner would like to do. So it doesn't require a vote, it just requires being put on the agenda.
Correct.
Great, is it? Are you good with that? Anything else?
Yep.
Please go ahead.
I want to thank the people of Clay County for voting and electing me as the Western Commissioner. I'm proud of my record as a commissioner, my work history, and my long business history. I am proud of my military service in underwater demolition 322. They were named SEAL Team. I have met many wonderful Clay County people on the campaign trail, old friends, new ones. The county has many fantastic people, and I look forward to serving them in the next 4 years. Last week at the end of the meeting, I addressed Mr. Noble, calling me a coward behind my back in a public meeting of the commission. The facts are that you called me a coward because I was not conceded to your political demands. Today, I want to clarify my reaction. How dare you call me a coward because I didn't go along with your political demands? I have served our nation honorably as a United States Navy. I have made the decision to travel to foreign soil so that the freedoms we enjoy in this country were protected. While I was serving, you chose to become a cartoonist. I applaud your talent for drawing pictures. You have no standing to call me a coward. Have you ever answered the call to serve your nation by risking your life? Have you ever said goodbye to your family, not knowing that you'll return? I have worked alongside some of the best trained men in the country. Not only is this out of order under your commission rules and procedure, it is disrespectful to the entire generation of veterans. Commissioner Noble, I have remained publicly silent for months as I have watched your behavior change from moderately unprofessional to downright hostile and dangerous for the county. I will no longer be silent. You have gone too far. You have caused chaos in the commission meetings. For the last 8 months, you did this to disrupt the election process. You have behaved this way because Commissioner Ridgway and I refuse to support your political maneuverings. That places the county in danger of liability and going against the wishes of the people we serve. Commissioner Ridgway and I have maintained decorum in our public meetings. And I want to thank Commissioner Ridgway for maintaining calm demeanor during our commission meetings, especially in the last few months as we approach the election. Commissioner Noble, since you become commissioner, the county has seen historic employees turnover. I have been astonished at the lack of professionalism you have displayed, especially with professional government was a campaign promise you made to the voters. Our county employees are forced to work in an atmosphere of hostility, fear, created at your hand. Since you took office, more than 20 key employees have left our county. You must think you are doing this you may think you are doing this to undermine our county administrator. You are wrong. The commission sets the tone, and the tone that you have set undermines public confidence and undermines our excellent staff. Last week, you ruled my comments out of order, citing decorum. I'd like to point out the number of occasions when our presiding commissioner failed to bring our meeting to proper order. One, a member of the public loudly and repeatedly used female slurs during public comments. This was not only allowed, but you thanked the citizen who spoke up so crudely. A member of the public who has a history of impersonating members of impersonating members of our law enforcement caused the county to lose thousands of dollars in legal settlements, was allowed to point and call a female employee names during public comments, nearly striking her in the face. Week after week, verbally assaults Commission staff. The staff who work for Clay County are the backbone of our essential services. They work diligently every day to carry out our priorities. Commissioner, I don't think you have weekly sought out news media to air your differences with staff and with your colleagues. Never have you sought out these individuals beforehand or during the work session to try to reach this resolution. Instead, you chose to embarrass and demean your fellow office holders and staff who you serve. You exposed Clay County to untold liability with your poor decisions. I have been asked by many members of the community what can be done to protect Clay County. The election is over. I call upon Commissioner Nolte to set aside his agenda of chaos and controversy and begin working for the good of Clay County.
Does that complete your comments? Thank you. Commissioner Ridgway. Very well. Many of us participated in Veterans Day commemorations last week. Once again, I want to thank our veterans and our active service men and women and their families for their service to this country. I'd also like to congratulate those who won their elections last week, including, of course, our associate commissioners, and extend thanks to those who ran unsuccessfully for their participation in the process. I would like to renew my call from last week for this commission to work together to build a consensus as we carry out the business of the people. Unfortunately, the actions and the comments immediately after the remarks last week leads me to believe that we have a longer road than I had hoped. We have to ask ourselves if intimidation and fear is the proper road, is to administration of good government, if that is, maybe we have good government. Hopefully, we can begin to move forward by agreeing that schoolyard bullying tactics have no place in professionally run government. I again ask that this animosity be set aside and we do the job that people sent us here to do with a shared vision of the greater good for Clay County and all of its citizens. That brings us to approval of the minutes. There are none listed. Executive sessions, there are none listed. Therefore, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.